Hey everyone, welcome back to Question Everything, where we question everything. Now, some people might say that you can choose who you're attracted to. And to that I say, choose to be attracted to me right now. I'm looking at you, cis straight men. Not everyone can be attracted to me. Sad but true. And that's because it's not a choice. Now, I'm not debating on whether or not it's a choice because that would be a huge waste of time for everyone involved. And instead I'll be going over the issues inside and outside of the LGBTQIA+ community.
Question everything, question everything, question everything, question everything. Why?
Question: where does homophobia originate? Externally and internally. Answer: my previous episode on the ego and prejudice goes into those basic concepts and can help understand the general origins. However, homophobia is usually a culturally produced fear of or prejudice against LGBTQIA people. Let's delve into the culture from which this hatred stems. Typically, self-righteous or religious individuals who want to create an other to blame or point a finger at are historically who seems to be the point of origin for negative feelings or actions surrounding homosexuals. Now, allow me to explain why I drew this conclusion. According to Henry Adams, the idea of homophobia as an anxiety-based phenomenon is a result of repressed homosexual urges or a form of latent homosexuality. This can explain how internalizing those thoughts that somehow sexuality is a negative thing can result in internalized homophobia and repression of those natural feelings and desires. Furthermore, the article goes on, West stated when placed in a situation that threatens to excite their own unwanted homosexual thoughts, they overreact with panic or anger. Panic and anger are feelings that usually arise when we feel out of control. Now, as I've said before, you cannot control who you're attracted to. So naturally feeling afraid or panicked when those feelings pop up is a rational reaction to being raised with this belief system. If you were told that you're going to be punished and tortured brutally in explicit detail as a child over, say it with me, something you can't control, you would be scared when these natural feelings and impulses occur. So where do people get the message that anything dealing with the LGBTQIA community is wrong, bad, or sinful, etc.? Toxic organized religion, mainly Christianity. It's really prevalent in America. You can usually use science, language, and history to analyze and break down the Bible to its context. However, that wouldn't fit the desire for controlling the behavior of followers. As mentioned on the episode Psychology Behind Theology, leaders of religion, typically white male Europeans, desired conformity and control. White supremacy shares those common goals. And if you recall the diagram summarizing the structure, homophobia is part of the oppressed. Going back to the angry emotional response, that can be a byproduct of toxic masculinity. Why? Same vein as before, but with patriarchy instead of homophobia. Because remember that femininity, which is commonly correlated to being queer, stereotypically, is seen as a negative trait under white supremacy because of patriarchy, because women are seen as lesser than.
It's time for a mindful moment. We can take a moment to check in with ourselves.
I promised myself I wasn't gonna say anything, and I simply cannot hold it in anymore. I have been getting attacked all day over this comment that I left on this video, which, by the way, all love to this original creator. I love him, I love his content. I think it's super informative. I love this original video. I totally agree with everything that he said. It is just absolutely baffling to me how willing men are to let it be known that they have no idea what the patriarchy is, yet they want to fight it so bad because they want to be oppressed so bad. I don't get it. It is just simply crazy to me that people think the concept of the patriarchy is up for debate, that it's an opinion, as if we have ever had a female president, as if 4 out of 34 Supreme Court justices are not women, and as if that is not the most we have ever had in American history. The patriarchy is simply a society in which men hold an unequal amount of power. But you're gonna tell me I'm wrong? I am learning a lot about the way that men think through their replies because their ego is so massive that they think that when we say the patriarchy, we mean them, we mean men. As if any individual man on this earth right now has anything to do with the creation of the patriarchy. We are all upholding the patriarchy, but the patriarchy has been here since the dawn of time, baby. So let me just quickly elaborate. This video is about how women often find it unattractive when men are emotional or cry, and I commented the patriarchy hurts everybody. Why? Because emotions and crying are often associated with, say it with me, femininity, and in a world where being feminine or a woman is associated with being weak, being submissive, being lesser than. It is a man's worst nightmare. That's why, for example, in a lot of fraternity hazing, they'll make men wear makeup or dresses, because the ultimate way to humiliate a man is to make him be perceived the way that women are every single day of our lives. And men are not the only ones that think this way. A lot of women associate emotions with femininity, femininity with weakness, and that's why they find it unattractive when men cry. It all comes back to gender roles instilled by the patriarchy. The patriarchy hurts everybody. Oh my god, it's almost like that was my original comment. It's just, I'm not gonna lie, it's just bothering me that men in these comments are taking this information as a form of them being oppressed, as if women are not also oppressed for their emotions, as if men don't use that as the reason we're not allowed to hold positions of power in society. Like, as much as I'm smiling and being silly, I've genuinely felt sick to my stomach all day over how much hatred men carry towards women and how blind they are to it and the suffering that we face in this society. I shouldn't have to argue people over that. It's a fact. There are statistics. Like, I don't want to hate men. I don't want to hate men. But they don't make that very easy.
First of all, good morning. Now, shout out to my boy Barrett Paul, because
Hey besties, welcome back to Why We Don't Need Straight Guys Part 13. We're gonna switch it up a little bit today. I think it's really important to share this platform, so we're gonna have my friend Glam Melanin take it from here. P.S. Please don't forget to follow her.
out this video, and it just was like the mind-blowing moment of the year for me. I'm just going to reiterate it my own way over here, but I'll tag him. To the straight men, the red pill popping portion of TikTok, the black ones, the white ones, and everyone in between. Just a thought, just a question. I don't know if y'all considered yet. What y'all gonna do when the girls and the gays realize that we can get sperm from gay men and trans people and no longer have to procreate with y'all? Because it seems like our stock value as women drops tremendously, according to y'all, whenever we engage in any type of intimate relations with you. Which would mean that we don't have no good reason to, right? Y'all don't believe in the archaic construct of marriage because you're men and should be out there being able to freely be with whatever woman you choose to. At the same time, you have a problem with single mothers, which you're the ones out here making. You claim that we need you for sexual satisfaction when meanwhile, straight women have the lowest percentage of climaxing with straight men sexually. So if it doesn't benefit us to do anything with you to get off, and it doesn't benefit us to do anything with you because you think our stock value drops when we do, and we decide to stop reproducing with y'all and start just making babies with the gays and just have open families, 2 moms, 2 dads, lovely household dynamics going on over here, and a well-loved child in the middle of it, why do y'all work so hard to convince us that we need to be with y'all? It's almost as if y'all already know all this and you're just deliberately trying to put out a bunch of propaganda in order to get into women's heads and convince us that we need to be with you when you know that we don't, and you know that you serve more harm than good, which would only translate into y'all. Y'all. Okay.
Now I'm summarizing here, but a study was done essentially to see whether homophobic men have internalized homophobia upon viewing homosexual erotic stimuli. The findings were that the more verbally in denial or homophobic they were, the greater physiological response was upon watching these stimuli, aka they were in deep denial or weren't aware of their sexuality. Now the point of this isn't to say that homophobes are actually just gay, because that's a harmful and reductionist generalization. That implies that the LGBT community are their own oppressors, which is false. The reason that these people are so repressed and unable to express themselves, except through hatred and anger, is because of the bigger systems at play that suppress mental health, male emotions, and education. Systems that instill fear-based beliefs, existential dread, and inflict punishment on those deemed outside the norm. Some homophobia stems from the repression of the self. The root of the problems are the systems that try to suppress it in the first place. Looks like it's white supremacy at work yet again. However, there are even issues inside the community that happen due to intersectionality in the diagram or being privileged to some extent. Take, for example, Pride as we know it today started on the backs of black trans sex workers and kinksters. Without them, we would not be where we are today. What's the Safe Word goes into these specific topics on their channel and podcast. What's your Safe Word? I highly recommend listening, as they have discussions about these things in more detail and with context. More privileged members of the community, those who aren't part of it or have never been to Pride, are typically the ones saying things like, Pride shouldn't exist, or certain people don't belong at Pride, which is literally the complete opposite point of the entire event. Pride is a place for inclusivity, acceptance, and diversity. Everyone who understands that belongs at Pride. In fact, Meyer states, a strong sense of connectedness to one's minority community can buffer the ill effects of minority stress. Essentially, in a heterosexist social environment, LGBTQ people as a minority group coming together to celebrate each other can buffer the effects of anti-gay stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination faced daily. So next time you see a Pride event or a Pride flag or just a couple holding hands, think about if that was you. Someone you loved was being judged negatively in the same light that you're judging someone else. It's basically empathy. Just have empathy. That's basically the moral of the story. Have empathy. Learn about, talk to gay people. Talk to people who are not in your immediate community. That is my advice for the end of this episode. But that is all. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And if you're new, then I would suggest hitting that subscribe button down below, or by checking out some of my videos, you can support this channel. But yeah, next week we're going to be talking about sexuality and gender and all the different labels and stuff. I know it's confusing and that a lot of people are angry about it. There are a few issues that I have, but like, we're going to get into that next time. So have a fan-freaking-tastic day, and don't forget to question everything.